Oh hey, so today we're back and we're going to be making English muffins. It's a 2-day process. So this is day one morning. Wow, what time is it? I can't even tell what time it is. Okay, it's 10:30. So 10:30 we're going to start feeding the sourdough. So the sourdough starter, I should say. So I have the starter. We'll put you down so you can see what I'm doing. I have the starter and I fed it yesterday. So today I haven't done anything with it. So here's what it looks like from yesterday's feeding. And I would normally do this earlier. I just getting a late start. So we're gonna take a couple of scoops and put it into a clean bowl. And the rest of this is just gonna go in the garbage. I'm gonna be making a double batch of the sourdough English muffins. So I'm gonna take, for now, a 1/4 cup of rye. This is how I feed my starter. So you do this all the time when you have to feed it. I don't do this much. I'm just doing more because I am going to be making stuff with it later. And I'm gonna do 1/2 cup of white. You could do whatever mixture you want. This is the mixture I've always kind of done, is rye and white flour. You can do it with whole wheat, you can just do it all white, and then I will measure the water. People like measurements. So I'm gonna start off with 1/2 cup of water. We'll mix it and we'll go from there. This is actually what I keep my sourdough starter in, is this bowl. Some people do other containers that you can buy specifically for it. I just like this one. It's a good size and I just plop a plate on top and it works good for me. I feel like I have good judgment with this because I've used it for a while. So it is a bit thicker. It says you want the pancake consistency. I haven't made pancakes in forever, so I don't really totally know what that's like. But we're gonna add in just a little splash more water. I'd say that's probably like an extra 2 tablespoons that I just did in there. So since I am doubling my recipe, I think it calls for, I'm gonna probably get it wrong because I didn't even look at my recipe, like 100 grams of sourdough. Could that be right, starter? So I want more than this. So I'm gonna take 1/4 cup. So I guess that'd be 1/8. And I'm gonna dump that in. And then I'm gonna take a full 1/4 of the white. I always just do 1/2 amount of dark rye as what I do white flour. And then I'll put in another 1/4 cup of water and give her a stir. Because I am getting started later on this, our place is pretty warm today, so that will help. But like if you are in more of a rush, then you could put it somewhere warmer. Like if you wanted to do your microwave or your oven like off, but with the light on, because just the warmth of the light will help it. Or if you have like a little heating pad, do that super low because you don't want to ruin it, but just to get it warm. So really I should have fed it with warm water. I didn't, but that's okay. So I used filtered water from the fridge, which is really cold. So now all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a clean plate and I'm gonna plop that on top and I'm gonna leave it on the counter. We're gonna come back and check on that later. I will update you, probably check back on that. I said it was 10:30ish right now. Maybe around 4 or 4:30, and then I'll show you where we go from there. It's about 6:20 p.m. now, so we'll check on our starter, which I already have. It wasn't rising too much because you're supposed to let it sit for 12 hours, it says. So I obviously didn't do it that long. So it wasn't rising too much, so I put a little wheat heat on top, just popped it in the microwave for a minute and then put it on top of this. So we do have some bubbles. You're gonna need your sourdough starter, a scale. I have 3 bowls and a spatula. So to get started, I'm just gonna put this on the scale and turn the scale on so it zeroes out the bowl. And we're gonna start with 100 grams of the starter. And then always make sure when you're doing this to save a little bit of your starter so you can keep it going. You could do this directly in the bowl that you're using to make it, like this one. But I find sometimes I'm not completely accurate on my liquids, like if I pour in milk or water, and then you can't really undo that. I guess you could try to like spoon it out or something, but that's why I do it this way. So we've got 100 grams for that one. So I'll set this aside for later, and I'm just gonna scoop out half this, throw it in the garbage, and then refeed it like I did, except for way less. So I'll probably do like 1/8 cup of rye and then 1/4 of the white in water, and then either put it in the fridge until I'm ready to use it again or leave it on the counter. Next up, we're doing 20 grams of sugar. So you could either do sugar, so I'm just gonna do organic cane sugar, or you can do honey, or you can do maple syrup, whatever you prefer. So we've got 20 exactly. Just gonna dump that in there, scrape out the sugar. Probably end up getting some sourdough in there too, some sourdough starter, I should say. Next up is milk. You can use, I've used all types of different milk. I haven't used like the classic milk yet, just because we don't have milk in this house, but it's just the Silk. This one is almond. It's vanilla flavored. I've done ones that don't have any vanilla flavoring. Usually it's always 0 sugar. And I've done like almond, I've done oat, cashew. I never really can tell a difference. So for this part, you wanna maybe try to go a little slower, just try to get it more accurate. So we need 240 grams of whatever milk you use. That's 242. We're gonna just toss it in there with the rest of it. I'm just gonna give it a little stir, just with the liquids in there right now. Next up is the flour. I'm just gonna do all of it white, but you could do whole wheat, you could do some rye in there, mix it up. So we're gonna do 260 grams of flour. Like I said, I'm just doing all-purpose white flour for this. I have not tried it yet with a different kind of flour, so I'd be curious to try it. Maybe I'll do the other one with some. Okay, we're doing it. So it's at 268, just gonna take out a touch more. We got 361. Calls for 360. I'm just gonna toss that in there. And then I might as well just finish this one off because I gotta go grab the flour now. We're gonna do 5 grams of salt, but it's at 3, just zeroing it out. Got our 5 grams of salt. And I'll do the 5 grams of salt for the other one since I have it out. And because I have the rye flour out, I'm just gonna use that instead of going to get whole wheat. So, calls for 360. I'm gonna do, let's see, oopsie daisies. Don't do a ton of it whenever I do it. I don't know why. So 67 of it is dark rye. And we'll do the rest with white. So we're at 359. We got 364 added in there. And now what we're gonna do is we're just gonna mix it up. We're gonna do a good mixing, no kneading. Move that aside for now. I'm just gonna use a spatula and stir it. I just wanna make sure, because I am going to be leaving this to sit for 30 minutes to an hour, that I do have it pretty well mixed. I don't want any of it to get like kind of dried out or anything like that. It will be covered though. A girl I work with, she also makes sourdough, and she had a really good idea that I never thought of before. So to cover my doughs, because I usually let them sit overnight or in the fridge. So the fridge I use little bags, but. So to cover those, I usually use either like this, which is instead of parchment paper, you can use this in the oven or you can use it to cover, but it just sits on top. So I use that, or these, which can go on top of your like pots and stuff like that. So I've used these two. And then I have in the past used tea towels that I wet, but I just didn't love that they were sitting all night like that. So the girl I work with, I can't find them right now or else I'd show you, but you'll know what it is. She uses shower caps. So she just opens the shower cap, she bought a ton of them, and then she just places that over top of it, which is also a good idea. I probably wouldn't use that just because I do like using more of reusable stuff instead of one time wasting plastic as much as I can. I'm just gonna mix the other one off screen. So we're just gonna let it sit with something on top for 30 minutes to an hour, and then we'll come back and we'll mix it up. The last step of the night, we're just gonna knead the bread. So you can do it by a machine if you have a machine. I do not. So we're gonna do 5 minutes kneading by hand. I am gonna sprinkle a little flour on the counter just to start, and we'll see how we go from there. And then we're gonna cover it back up. So I guess you can watch me knead if you want. Got our 2 bowls. Just gonna take it out. It's pretty sticky. Throw it on there. And then we'll get this guy out. The dark rye flour, if you do use a different flour, like you can totally feel a difference in the texture, and just the way they stick even is very different. So we're gonna just knead away. You can do one at a time. You don't have to do both. This probably won't last long where I'm doing both. And I don't think you wanna watch me knead for 5 minutes. I don't really have any kneading tips. I don't know if I'm supposed to be giving those, but I just kinda, I guess, pull from an edge and push down towards the middle, and then sometimes I don't even know what I'm doing. I think I'm just rotating it and pushing. I don't have kneading tips. Knead away. Man alive, there's a timer on this phone, and I know I have not been kneading that long because it only says it's been 2 minutes and 18 seconds, but boy oh boy does my arm hurt, which means I still have 3 minutes to go. So I'm just gonna sprinkle a little bit more flour. Try not to do too much now, but it's a little bit, like the rye one, the cat. The dark rye one is like a lot easier to handle without being sticky than this one is right now. I just finished my 5 minutes kneading. That's a lie, I probably did less than 5 minutes for sure. Now we're just gonna take it and we're gonna throw them in the bowls, and we're just gonna let that sit overnight. So put the covers back on. You can let it, it's depending on the temperature of your house. So if it's really cold, you might need to let it sit a little longer. And if it's warm, you might need to let it sit a little less. And if you're busy, I guess you'll get to it when you get to it. See you tomorrow. Good morning. So it's about 10:20. We're gonna get started on the next steps. So I'll show you the rise. I feel like it probably could have risen a bit more, but it did, I'd say at least double in size there. We're gonna keep these for a little later. So we're gonna start off with the all white one actually. I'll just show you how to do a little bit of it and then we'll pause and I'll show you the rest. So we're gonna get started. We're gonna take this, we're gonna put a little bit of flour on the counter, and we're gonna throw this down, and then we're gonna just press it down with our fingers. You want about 1/2 inch of a thickness to the dough. I'm gonna take our dough. I have a little bit of flour on the counter and a little bit on my hand. We're just gonna scoop that on out and throw her down. It's fairly sticky. I'm just gonna sprinkle a little flour on the top, and then we're just gonna push it just with the fingers. Sometimes if you find that it's not stretching out that well, you can just leave it for a minute, work on something else, and then go back and try stretching it again. So we're just gonna put that there, and actually I'm gonna start on the rye one over here. So we got the dark rye one down. We're gonna throw a little bit of flour on the top again, and then just push it with our fingers. I find the dark rye one is staying more in place. It's not like squishing back together. Okay, so 1/2 inch thickness. And then I'm using my biggest cookie cutter that I do have to shape it. I think it's probably about 3 inches. I'm really bad at numbers, so that's probably wrong. But I do find when I cook them, they do poof up a little, puff up, I don't know the word. But I wish that I had one a little bit bigger, because for the English muffins, they're super good with some homemade jam or butter or peanut butter, whatever you prefer. But I like to use them for dinner sometimes, and we'll make like an egg McMuffin, just throw some egg on there and turkey sausage and some cheese. And I find they're just not big enough. Okay, so before I put these on the pan, so I have the pan with parchment paper, I'm gonna take some cornmeal and I'm gonna sprinkle it on the bottom of the pan. Let me just scoot you on over there. You can see what we're doing. So we're just gonna place it on the paper. That's it, that's all. And just in case you're interested, I will show you how I just kind of like reshape the dough. So we're gonna make it into a ball. Get rid of some of this flour because I want it to be a bit sticky still. And then we're just gonna push her on down. You probably don't need to punch it. I was just trying to get the dough to stick together. You can always lift it up too and let it hang and stretch it. And then when it gets down to not very much dough at all, then I just kind of make one with my hand and shape it. Get a couple out of this one. You can also do this with a cup too if you want. I found when I did it with a cup the one time, it really didn't work out that well because the edges weren't sharp enough to cut into the dough. So you're kind of just like ripping the shape after, but whatever you got works. So when I have very little left like this, waste not, want not, I will just take it and I'll just make a poorly shaped English muffin. I mean, it tastes the same. Oh, we're gonna just make a big boy, I guess, here. And I'm gonna go do the rye one, but y'all don't have to watch that because it's the exact same thing. It's probably just gonna be a bit of a different texture, and then I'll be back. Okay. All right, we are back for the final steps before we let it rise again. So we're just gonna take our pan of English muffins. We're gonna take our cornmeal and we're gonna sprinkle the tops with cornmeal. You can totally tell which ones I did by hand and which ones are by cookie cutter. Like I've said in other videos, I am not good at making pretty things, but they taste good and that's all that matters. I think, anyway. I mean, I do envy the people who have the skills to make like a beautiful cookie or anything like really presentable. I just don't have those skills. We got them sprinkled. Set that aside. And I'm just gonna take what I had on top of it before and we're gonna cover it. So I'm just gonna lay that on top. And this doesn't totally fit, but I'm gonna use that and lay that on top. See if we can't wiggle some of these under there. Underwear. Okay. Now that they're covered, we're gonna let that sit for an hour. I think. What time is it? It's 10:35. So I'm gonna let it sit for potentially an hour. I have somebody coming over and I have to do her makeup. So she's coming over at 12. So you have to cook them on the pan after this too. So it might be a little tight. So I might let them sit less than an hour. Maybe I'll throw a little heating pad under there, try to get them rising a little bit quicker, and we'll find out. I'll be back. We're on to the last step. It's 11:33. I already did one batch. So I did start a little bit earlier. I'll just show you what we're gonna do here. I'm just gonna take the ones I have on off right now. So this is how they turned out. Oh, that's really hot. So I have two pans going. I'm just gonna take the lids off. You can do just one. I do two just because I did a double recipe and then it takes a little bit for them to cook. You're gonna throw them on. I had it at medium heat preheating and then I lowered it to low, like the higher end of low. It says to put 4 on. We're gonna see how many we can squish on. They do grow a little bit, so make sure that they're not touching. And I find when I do two pans that they do cook at different speeds. Actually, this pan might have been a horrible idea to use. I don't think that's gonna come off well. Throw that down, and then you're gonna cover them for 4 minutes and leave them on low heat. So for this part of the recipe, you're gonna want pans, you're gonna want a thermometer so you can check the internal temperature of the bread. It has to be at 200 for it to be done. Sometimes I take it off when it's like 190. The ones that I just did, I took off at 190. I'll cut one open so you can check out what it looks like though. I just got my serrated bread knife. We're gonna give her a little cut in the middle. See if we got some crumb. Bulbs. There we go. It's piping. And that's what it looks like. And we'll cut open the rye one too. So I did do the rye ones on the same pan as the white one. And I think I did it again, which I wouldn't do because I find the rye ones are cooking at a different speed. So you can tell like this one wasn't cooked as long as this one. It's just gonna look different too because dark rye flour will look different than the white. But this one's more airy and this one's more dense, I guess. And I feel like this one could have been cooked maybe a minute longer or so. It's not bad, you could still eat it, but this one is definitely good to go. We're not quite at the 4-minute mark, but I could smell one of them burning, so I'll show you the situation. This one's totally burnt. I would not recommend this pan. First of all, they stick like crazy, and I don't think that's the right pan to use. And they got like super burnt, and it's at a low temperature. So we are going to just do them all on this pan from now on. So I'm gonna flip this over, we'll check out what it looks like. Like I said, it's not quite the 4-minute mark, so we might have to flip them again, but we'll check out the internal temperature. We're gonna cover it, let it sit for another 4 minutes. That one will not be 4 minutes. Waste not, want not though. I'm totally gonna eat those suckers. I'll pull them man down. Probably scrape off the burnt stuff and then still eat them if they're okay, internally cooked and get to the right temperature. So it's probably not even been a minute since I turned off the camera. The one pan where they're burnt is done internally. I just checked the temperature and it's already at 200. So the insides of these are good. This side doesn't look as horrible. So like I said, I'm totally gonna eat those still. I'm just gonna set them aside on the cooling rack, and then I will deal with that later and scrape them down. Since we're here, we'll check the other pan. It shouldn't be ready yet because it hasn't even been that long. So let's check out the temp of this guy. So it's at 192, 193, it's climbing. So I'd say they look good on the other side. I'm gonna take them off. And this one is the rye one. And it's 184 and it's still going up. The rye ones do cook a little slower. They're harder to stab. So this side to me looks good. Like they look like they're a little bit browned. So I'm going to, actually I'm gonna put them, I'm gonna let them sit for 30 seconds to a minute and then we'll take them off. So we're back after a minute and we're gonna check the temperature again. They'll just, hello steam. Yeah, the internal temperature is good to go. I just wanted to make sure that they like also looked good. So we're at 200, we're over 200. Hot mess express, let's get rid of this guy. Okay, so we're just gonna move these and we're gonna put them on our cooling rack. Join the burnt ones. And you guys kind of get the idea, so I don't think you need to watch me do it again, but since you're here, you can just watch me plop them down. Try not to let them touch. And we're gonna cover it and let her sit for a couple minutes. I'm just cutting into the ones I just did. You can see the steam coming up. So this one is the dark rye. They're pretty much good to cut right away. Sometimes when you cut like the bread and stuff, it seems to get kind of mushy or can like squish down, but these are good to cut right away. Anyway, that's it. So thank you for watching. Hopefully you can learn from my pan mistakes and I'll see you next time. Thanks. So I tried to scrape off the burnt stuff, but because it is an English muffin, like, you know, sometimes you could scrape stuff off something, it's not really working out. So I think they are garbaggio. So if you burn them, RIP.